So much going on. So much going on. Good evening. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday evening. I'm the Diva D, Carved Out Divas.
April called from April's Beauty Bar, and we are diversity
And equity
in education.
in education. Hi, everybody. How was your week? Is everybody? Oh, this is Memorial Weekend, Memorial Day weekend. I mean, of course, it feel like every other weekend because I've been trapped in the house, like R. Kelly been trapped in the closet. So it ain't like I've been going nowhere. However, there's a whole lot of y'all that been outside. So let I think we need to just start off by talking about that. Okay, that's first of all, as the CNN addict that I am, I have seen, and the beaches and everything are open now. So I have seen gatherings that are almost ridiculously scary. How many people are just packed up on the beaches and packed up in areas? They did a flyover. I think it was in Jacksonville, where you seeing all these people just gathered up and not a mask in sight. Okay, so
Mm.
the fear is this, is that being that nobody has been, well, not say nobody, but there was a report on CNN also that where they fired, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the lady's name, but she was fired because she was trying to, tell them that these numbers are not what's really going on. You're trying to suppress the number, you're trying to manipulate the numbers and manipulate the data, but you're letting people just run out there randomly, just doing whatever. And we're going to see some pushback from that. So I'm just concerned about the immediate future, with meaning that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, if people are not even more cautious than they are right now, what's going to happen? That's my concern. What's going to happen? So what's your thoughts on that? You tell me.
I think at this point, we done beat the horse. The horse is dead. We done start to skin him and preparing him for burgers. So let's look. These, it is what it is. I don't have no fight in me. My allergies are through the roof. So
Oh,
it is what it is. If we're not look for those, because we had friend girls that went to the beach, but the beach that they went to, they were able to social distance safely, because that's one of the key things that they wanted to make certain of, or had already prepared the children to know, that in the event they weren't able to social distance, that they were going to leave. But some beaches are capable of having people that come there or go there to understand that we need to still social distance, outside of our immediate group that we came with. It should
Mhm.
be clearly more than 6 feet at that point. But again, for the beaches that seem to have said the hell with COVID, it never existed, pack them in to capacity. And that's what seems to have been being done. So at this point, the only thing we could do, I think, is that as a people, use common sense. And when that don't work, ask somebody that have some.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, wow. Okay. You said a mouthful right there. Um, and you're right. I mean, at this point in time, it's like just like us, with us, how we deal with education, where we say the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, okay, are you listening? Are you really listening? Have you heard what I said? Are you listening? So, yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree with that. So, that's first of all, social distancing, and one of the things too is also learning how to properly wear a mask, because, because I posted on my page earlier this week. I was like, the mask covers this part here like this. All you're supposed to see is right here. I mean, you got this you mask down here. People having whole conversations with the mask off, but it's hanging from the ear. I mean, what's the point? It's there for a purpose. Let's use it correctly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So listen, I just love. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go through my list real quick. Okay, so now a couple things we talked about this weekend. We went on the a radio show with Diane Hart, and we were really focusing on what's the next thing that's going on with education. Okay, first of all, we don't really know because there's no set plan right now in terms of how we're going to go forward opening. So we really everybody just needs to really pay attention and be aware of, just keep up with the news, keep up with listening to what's going on, listening to the reports that are out there, staying in touch on Hillsborough County's page, paying attention to what the Florida Department of Education is saying. Because, like I said, it's a day by day process, and we really don't know what's going to happen. So everyone needs to pay attention and be aware of it. I mean, we can't, with real fidelity, nobody can really answer a question and say, okay, yeah, the kids are definitely going back to school. The teachers are definitely going back in the classroom. We're ready to go. I mean, that's not sure. I mean, the only valid thing that I know for a fact is that a calendar was put out, and these are the dates on the calendar. Other than that, answering questions when people say, are you sure the kids going back? What day they going back? I don't even want to lie and say, yes, the kids going back to school on August, whatever it is, the 3rd, the 10th, whatever the date is on there, because that would be me just giving you fictional information, because based on what's going to happen right now, like right now, the governor has told everybody, go. We open the beaches. We open the athletic programs. Summertime, we free. Let's go out in the streets and do it. This is how I feel. I feel that our children are the test dummies to go out there right now. To go ahead, run out there. We ain't test nobody. Everybody we don't have a idea of how many people are actually infected. We don't know how many of us are carriers, but let's open up the state and run out there and see what happens. I have a fear that the kids might end up getting sick, and we just don't know how to take care of it. There was a hospital in there's so many states reporting so much stuff, it's hard for me to keep up with the states. But there was one doctor that got out there and said, listen, we are full. We can't even possibly take no more people. So do us a favor and just stay home. But, based on what we see out here right now, I can't.
My question becomes, I have my uncle's wife is currently in the hospital, and my question, and she's been in ICU for a while, and the question became, like, have anybody been allowed to come in to see her, go in to see her? The response is no. How they communicating? The nurses call every hour, with updates, so on and so forth. So if the hospitals have not, reconvened to go back into some sense of normalcy where a person can't visit someone that is, in an ICU situation, that should bring some type of alarm to say that something is wrong. Like, we're still in a high level of priority, to social distance. But again, we're being a dead horse. Like, people have set in their minds that everything is good. Let's move forward. And I mean, I can understand why that might be the case, because you see so many of the leaders out in the community in their job capacities, and they are just without masks. Like you said, they're around their nose. I'm saying under their nose, on their ears, and so on and so forth. So the argument now becomes, if they're out there, we can see it. It can't be that big of a deal. So it is what it is. And really there's no vaccine. It's not like they've had a vaccine to make certain that, technically it's supposed to be a preventative medication, but anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel anyway, yeah, but you're right, because like I said, leadership. It's all about the leadership. If people are seeing them in capacity, and you see what happened with the president. But anyway, yeah. But if you see people out there who said, I refuse to do this, and I'm not going to do this because the press telling me to do it, it ain't really no hope. I mean, you're just gonna I don't know. How I look at it is this way: God gonna eventually weed out who He want to leave behind and who He want to take right now. That's how I see it. But anyway, let's move on. So let's focus on this right here. Oh, we all know the reason why, or we could just make an assumption that the reason why a lot of things are open is because we're putting profit over people. And here's the thing, and very easily, when people and then a lot of businesses are suffering too, because when you When people want to stay on, this is one thing I got from one business owner who's saying he was concerned about all his employees not coming back to work. Well, when unemployment is paying them better than the actual job is paying them, of course they're not going to come back to work. Because if minimum wage is so low that when you get your unemployment check, you actually doing better off staying home, why wouldn't you stay home? No, but here's the
Or
problem. Go ahead.
or the fact that DeSantis says that it's you fraudsters out there, the reason why the money that ran out. I'm like, he said the fraudsters. I'm like, wait, what? So people committing that much fraud and
Yeah,
over half don't even get their applications in. I'm
right.
like,
Right.
oh God.
Yeah. That's real interesting. Okay, so yeah, you that's real interesting. So, but a lot of the reason why they said they want them to go back to work is because, I mean, why pay out all the unemployment and money? It's better for them to just go back to work so that, listen, they can say, okay, all right, well, it's better for me to let you go to work, get sick and die than to let you sit home and collect an unemployment check, because it's actually costing the government more money. So people, please be cognizant of the fact that they're not concerned about your health. They're just concerned about the economy. And remember, this all goes back to elections, because right now, if the economy is bad, the person sitting up in there in the White House, he mad because right now it's making him look horrible. So why not force people to go back out there and go to work so that you can truly say, oh, I got the economy running. Also, to religious institutions. Okay, I don't know how many churches were actually open this weekend, but I was real glad for the ones that didn't open, because they actually said to themselves they're going to put their congregation before they're putting some word of some person who was just, because one of the guiding principles of America is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, also religious freedom. Okay, well, you're free to close the church, you're free to open the church, you're free to have your members come in or not. And especially in our society around here, especially at least in my church, we have such a high population of older people that attend church. So it's like, why would you want to hurt them or harm them or infect them when they're the age group that go down first? And then on top of that, you're taking out all your wisdom when you're taking the older people out. And that is it seems like it's such a purposeful thing that's happening by saying, oh, you demand that these people go to church. Why? And if they need to realize that the church is actually not the building, it is in the people. So that's really was a dead deal right there. And when I heard actually Catholic priests this morning saying that, I was like, wow, okay, so yeah. Okay, that should apply to everybody. I hope that they well aware and understand that. So, anyway, so let's talk about the standards now. So we are going back into the new school year. The one thing I got to give them credit for is realizing that, and maybe they don't realize it, or maybe they just heard us talking or heard somebody talking. You have to reset the standards. You have to reset it to where kids can actually be successful. If you're looking at the numbers, the data that's being projected out there, you're seeing that obviously we know kids can't read. So of course, having a set of standards that's lower, and I want to say lower in terms of not as rigorous, but going back to basics. That's how the standards are looking right now. They're going back to basics. It's like, okay, you can't go to college level material if the kids still haven't mastered basic grammar. That's basically what it is. And so when you look at the steps of things, you realize, okay, we need to step back and settle. But it all goes back to help. We need additional help in the classroom. So you can't say, well, especially if you're not given if you're not creating an environment where you're getting all the additional help from like the outside resources, like you don't have all this extra like the ESC and the ELL, and you don't have the teacher's aid. That was a joy for me when I had a teacher's aid in the classroom. You have got to break it back down to make it as relatable as possible. Make the materials as relatable to the children as possible. So that's a big thing with this new standards coming up. So trying to encourage parents to like, look, go back to basics with your kids. Go back to the like writing. Go back to basic math, all that stuff like that. What were you gonna say?
Nothing. You're absolutely right. When we start navigating away from the basics and it became so complex, I think that's why a lot of our students That's how they get lost in the shuffle. Because I remember at the point when they introduced sight words to Hillsborough County, it was no
Mm-hmm.
longer the importance of the phoneme awareness. They said the sight words and then develop phoneme. And I think that really jacked up a lot of our youth because they weren't able to do it in that particular order. And that might have something to do with the overall development of the student, of the child's brain. So I don't know about that. So I won't speak too much. And I just know my experience with with my child when that happened. I was like, how could you be learning words before you know all of the sounds? So that was interesting to me back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, doing things phonetically right. I remember that. Now, hey,
Hmm.
and speaking of which, okay, not to plug anybody, but Disney Plus. You know what they're bringing back to to their channel. Remember Schoolhouse Rock with all the
Oh wow! So
they're
they've
gonna put
gotten
it
the
on Disney.
they
Yes,
purchased it, huh?
yes. And my thing is this. I say if people don't realize, I grew up on that. That was my big thing. Conjunction, junction, and I'm just a bill and all those things like that. Grammar rock. So if they actually went back to that, and remember that came in with our Saturday morning cartoons. That was in there. Like they slipped it all in there. It's like back in the day when you used to watch 90s TV. And if you paid attention very carefully to the 90s TV, you saw the Cosby Show, you saw Different World, and what was the other big? Oh, Martin, things like that. But what they used to do on those Living Single, what they did on shows like that was they used to wear. If you really paid attention, they used to wear all the black college jerseys and clothing and stuff like that. So every once in a while, walk across the screen, you see the Hampton shirt on, you see the Spelman College, you see Morehouse, you see Morris Brown. They would slip it in there, and it was subconsciously making your mind think, "Oh, college, black colleges, that's pretty cool." But now you don't see that anymore, and I think that's the reason why. Well, of course, that's the reason why a lot of kids are just like they don't even have that as a concept in their mind. When you have kids coming up listening to the type of music you listen to, but they don't have those key pieces of. I mean, from time they were little kids, learning the ABCs and learning the your numbers, and how I learned multiplication. Eight multiply by eight was that a song that they had on Schoolhouse Rock, and then also the one little song with the little girl, and it was on Sesame Street, where the little girl had to remember it was a memory song, and she said a loaf of bread, a stick of butter, and a gallon of milk. You remember the little girl, and the little jazz music was coming on. You remember? You remember?
And see, but now, for some reason or another, our education has deemed that those types of memorization um, taught strategies are not acceptable. It's the strangest thing if ever. They don't want them to learn memorable songs. They don't want them to learn acronyms in order to associate them with, you know, back to the learning that they need to have gained from us for a new concept and so on and so forth. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting that those particular strategies are deemed no longer acceptable. Now, when did that become a point of discussion amongst teachers? I missed it in the 20 years I've been doing this. But one
Right.
thing we still do, we still learn the songs. We still learn those acronyms. We still learn our tricks in math and all that good stuff. Because again, it worked for me, and I think I'm not too on the side of not knowing things as it relates to basic math. So I think we need to get back to the basics in a lot of areas, including this thing called common sense.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know why people thought that something like that, taking that away would be a problem. It's just like taking away all the other stuff. Like okay, we see the benefit now, or right now, at least right now, of the fact that there's no test. I think I got a lot more done because the kids weren't pressured because of a test. So they were just, we just did, we reviewed skills. We were able to just go into the material. We were able to look at one piece of material over and over and over again throughout the week, like just one piece. And you could to do a lot with one piece of text, especially if a piece of text is like 9, 10 paragraphs. You could go in and you could break it down. And so the stress of the test coming off of them now allowed them to really go deeper and take their time. And you could pull vocabulary out of it. You could pull metaphor. You could do literary stuff out of it. You could look at pictures and graphics and really take your time. And so that, and then that's core stuff. If one kid's looking at a piece of text and there's a bunch of black and white words all over paper, you have to show them how to break it down into chunks. So for me, it's like, why wouldn't we would just go all the way back and have them really take their time and go through a piece of text in detail, take their time, and then go back to the critical thinking stuff. Give them their art, give them their music, give them their what's all that stuff, the home ec and stuff like that earlier in the school year.
Mm-hmm.
Were you gonna
And
say
that's
something?
definitely going to be something that's very vital for us going back into the school year, whatever, whenever we do or however we do, that we go back and identify the trends based upon your particular school site, and then for that teacher to be given the opportunity to base it upon each one of her classrooms, and then individualize it for her students at some point, to be able to go back and identify the weaknesses that those kids from the prior school year going into this school year, what do we need to focus on? Because we cannot omit that in elementary, there are some skill sets that were definitely missed that last quarter, because of some students have to be at a certain level in reading by a certain time, and the math fluency have to deem have served, just in a nutshell. We got to figure out a way, or I hope they are, the people that make the decisions are thinking of ways how to not just proceed with thinking we go into the school year and all things are as normal. We need to go back and pick up some of those skill sets that the kids demonstrate weaknesses across the board, and be able to pull some of those into that to the rising grade level. It's needed. It's definitely needed. It's
I
going to
think
be.
that too, that before we even step back into the classroom, or step back into whatever arena we go into when school begins again, there should be some kind of calibration between elementary and middle school, and it, to me, is pertinent that take place, because right now we have months of kids, months of time have gone by, and we know the kids that have not got a lot of true, real, true instruction in that space of time, and especially for the ones who already had a deficit. So why would we bring a middle, like say we go back to school, and a middle school and elementary school, whatever, wherever they're coming from, like we just have a forum that day and say, hey, this is what we're supposed to be covering. I need to know what y'all got with these kids right now. Where are you at? Or which ones are you sure that you're having issues with? But like when they send children over to other schools, like don't just send them over to the school. Give us the data. Give us everything that we need so that when we start off, we're not stressed out like, why this
Because we
child
will
don't
not
know
have
this?
FSA scores. We won't have
Right.
baseline data outside of iReady, and outside. That's it. That's all I would have. That's it. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
thing I would have. That's crazy, because I don't have access to. No, I won't have access to their iReady scores. No, I don't. I won't. You all have
Right.
access to FAIR and the FSA. There's nothing that I would have access to as it relates to math. Let's say hello to some people while we're here. We have
Okay.
Pansy. Hello, Sonia, Diana. Hi, Catalina. Catalina says that the trends will be critical, most definitely. And she also shares that strengths and weaknesses, time must be given for us to play catch up, most definitely. And then she
Mm-hmm.
also said, yes, ma'am, Miss Denise, we will have nothing. So that's something truly to think about, that prior to them closing out those elementary fifth graders files, is there a way to allow middle school teachers to gain access to their iReady data? Can that be pushed into the platform where students assessment data is pushed into that platform? What is it? School City, and what's the other one on their
We're looking at School City Fair. We're looking at Fair Test. We're looking at FSA scores. We're
right,
looking at
but
what
the
do you?
platforms that we see them on, what's that other one? School City, and then when you log into their,
Oh, you mean
I can't even
oh,
think
you mean
what
like
it is.
Sagebrush, or what do you call that
Yes,
thing
there
again?
you go. There you
Well,
go.
but it was
If you log when you
IPT.
log into the Sagebrook, you will see it there. Yeah, that's what it is.
IPT, instructional planning tool.
IPT.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So it would
Mm-hmm.
be good to see that. Catalina said we will have FAIR, FSA, and Brightfish. Yes, all read and think. all areas
Mm-hmm.
for reading, but where are the math resources? The only thing that came in that we would utilize is their FSA scores coming from fifth
Right.
to sixth grade. And then that information it doesn't align. They're not aligned.
Right.
Priscilla's there. Hello. Kirkland Bull. Hello. So yeah, that's interesting. That is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So I just got a text message from the district saying the end of year information. So that would be
Oh,
good
well,
to
let's
see.
share that. Let's share that.
Look, let's see what it says.
Because at my last PLC meeting, we talked about when our dates for summer school are, and our summer school dates are June 15th to July 16th, and it's all, of course, online. So that's our specific dates, and we are having summer school, and our math is supposed to be through Edgenuity, and we are looking at the Step Up Kids. God bless and good luck.
It says Hillsborough response end of year information, Hillsborough virtual school details, and a huge national honor for a Newsome grad. So they are highlighting someone. I don't know who that someone is, but definitely parents and those that have access, go ahead and look at your emails from the district or go to the Hillsborough County Public Schools district website, and I'm pretty sure you can easily navigate to find out the updates that the district has just sent out as it relates to what's next as we close out these next 4 days of the 2019-2020 school year.
Yes.
Closing it, shutting it,
Shut the
period.
door.
Boom.
Pooh, exactly. Because right now the floodgates are open when it comes to thing. I just barely glanced because I stopped looking at stuff. Let me put this out there for parents and students. Okay, understand we're still at work, right? Which means that there are work hours. So you know, thinking that I'm going to respond to a message at 10 o'clock at night because you need to get your work graded. That's not a reality. So just like the same amount of hours that you're at work, that you're at school, think to yourself, if I'm in school from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, maybe that's the time that my teacher also should be working from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So please don't get on there and send 15 messages at 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Why you ain't check my work? Maybe because it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and I work from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. I just need you to be clear about that. I just need you to be clear, because now after 9 weeks, you talk about 9 all my work graded. Well, I had to wait 9 weeks for your work. So what's
I
9 more
promise you,
hours?
I'm not going back to grade 9 weeks of work. I promise
I'm not
you,
doing it either.
the children and the parents lies. So I will say that I did do a car jump, almost a car jump out yesterday on two of my students in their communities as they were riding up the street on their bicycles doing
Yes.
catwalks, and I immediately started hollering and screaming, "Go home and get on that computer! You still
Yeah.
have work to make up. Otherwise, you would be revisiting, you would have the opportunity. Notice it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to gather your remedial work during summer session. What would you like to do?" One couldn't even lead a car. He was like, "Miss Carr, what I need to do? What we got going on?
Right.
Miss Carr, I'm this, that, whatever." Boy, he
Block on
know how
traffic.
to rap. I got to give it to him. He an old man in a child's body. He know how he get close in so he can talk to you, look in your eyes, so he can be clear on you, understand his
Yeah.
empathy and his compassion for what it is that you're trying to tell me, as I
Oh,
still rolled off in the same direction I was going, opposite of home, to not get that work done.
yes.
I love
Okay.
him though. I love him.
Look, I love to see them. They're out there on their bikes and stuff, and that's always fun to see the kids do that. But let me tell you, we have our work hours. It's like you don't want me to bother you when you not at work, so please don't bother me when I'm not at work. That's called respect. That's mutual respect. Okay. But so now, what one person was asking me. Well, we're asking me about the school and about the testing. Okay, and the one question that popped up was, well, is the testing that the kids have, is it also to weed out teachers that are not doing well, or teachers who are not proficient or whatever like that? And here's my particular opinion. I see. Notice how they didn't have testing this year, and I don't know about the school grade situation, but what I'm looking at is instead of testing to try to, knock down a teacher that might not be that like struggling or a new teacher, so they need more support. I said, so, yeah, you might say take a test and the kids might not do well, but have you thought about the support system for the teacher? I think this is what deters a lot of young teachers from either returning or young people from actually even applying. I don't think they really have a lot of support, and especially for the look in them rare situations when you have young male one. Let me get real clear: young black male teachers, those are the ones that you want to keep. Like all us, here's a suggestion: all us old crows that been there for 20,000 years. Okay, you know they're gonna give us all of the ones that are quote unquote challenging because they figure we can handle it. Well, okay, I'll take that. If you give the young male teacher more support, give him a class, maybe even if he got all classes that's a struggle, give him at least 2 advanced classes that he could just like, okay, I can take a breather,
Right.
I can
Don't
relax.
kill him.
Don't kill him, because you want him to come back. If you see a young brother teaching, and because obviously, like we've discussed before, there's only 2%, like milk, 2% of black males in the entire United States that teach. So why wouldn't you then? Those are the ones you want to nurture, encourage. Those are the ones you want to truly say, hey, listen, you might be having a hard year, but you can give them all the support. Support them so that they then will also do what? Everything is all about appearance. Okay. So guess what? Now they're gonna say, hey, in my school, I get a lot of support. Hey, why don't you come over here? Because I think we might have some positions over here for you. Hey, go over to that school. You can get some great support. It's all about building. And if we're complaining about we don't have leadership or black males, well, how about you try to build some? How about we try to actually do our best to keep and retain the ones we have, not throw them under the bus?
And let's marinate in this topic for a little bit,
Uh-huh.
because when you made the statement that in most cases those teachers are given the majority of the students that exhibit the inability to govern themselves accordingly in the classroom, that holds true for your strong teachers that are on the campus as well. Those classrooms become the dumping ground, so to speak, for
Right.
the corrective behaviors, where in another classroom the child just was not successful. So without question, without a conversation, without a heads up, you just have a child show up that been on the campus, that they've been a hell raiser, but all of a sudden they're now on your roster, and you're like, what happened? Like, why did you get switched? The same math that was happening in this room should have also been happening in the other room. But then by the time you go to have the discussion, I know for me, it's like, okay, it's not the child's fault that all of this transpired and no one out of professionalism or courtesy or contractually had a discussion with me to say, hey, we're going to change this child's schedule and this is why. Because we went through no
Mm-hmm.
MTS, RTI, we have done none of that. We're just trying
Right.
to provide a sense of um reprieve for that educator that just have said, I'm done, I cannot do it anymore. But when I say I'm done and I can't do it anymore, and have went through the pages and pages of the path
I'm gonna
necessary
clap it
to
out.
be capable of saying, this is why your child was not successful in my room, I've done it all. Why does that happen so much? So, like, why do we think that that's okay? And leading into what we know has happened with this Gaither High School teacher, the possibility of the allegations of what happened, and students expressing that they felt some type of way as it relates to the behaviors that he has exhibited allegedly out there in cyberspace. And just imagine those students that were the ones that were the tough kids and they did not look like me. Just imagine if there was accusations that I treated them with any type of, racial slurs or any type of things that related to my belief system being the only. You just imagine that. Do you
Right.
think that it would be a mild conversation, and we're going to wait to? Do you think that that would happen?
No, absolutely not.
What do you think would
Absolutely not.
happen? What do you
Hmm?
think? What happened? What do you
Oh,
think?
well,
What
shoot,
happened?
you done got dragged right on down to professional standards. I mean, and then you done look all over the news, everywhere you went, all over the news, and exactly right. Because let me tell you, I cannot tell you how many year after year after year, and it's funny because school after school, this is not an isolated situation. This has happened to me at several schools. Well, I just wrote. In fact, what was it, 2 years ago? I had where pretty much my entire class was made up of all the rejects, as they call it. I mean, every week I turned around another child in my class, another child in my class, another one, just like DJ Khaled, another one, another one. Okay, I'm like, so how come they all end up in my classroom? What's the problem? Now granted, they're gonna say, well, no, I only taught one subject, but they opened up a window, like how God opened a window. They opened up a window, so now all of a sudden you got to teach this class. Wait a minute, hold on. But this is the class of the leftovers that nobody else don't want to teach, and now you just drop them. But you're right when it comes to that. I did have years ago, and this was we talking about years. This is way back at Waters when I had a child who was, a white child. Let's gonna be real crystal clear about this. Let's be transparent. The child was white, and she liked to cut class and go see her boyfriend and hide behind the stairwell and go see her boyfriend. And
I remember them
of course
stairs.
she remember the stairwell. And so of course I'm dropping F's left and right. And then she might show up 15 minutes before class is over. And so she goes down and she mad because she caught the F and go down and tell them, oh, this lady failing me because she racist towards me because she black and I'm white. Ain't got a thing to do with racism. The thing to do with the fact that you trying to go down this class and go hug up and kiss up all over your boyfriend in the bottom of the stairwell. That's what it's about. And fortunately for me, I had at that time a black male teacher, and you know what we're talking about, was there who could actually vouch for me and say, yeah, I see this child here cutting class almost every day. And I'm like, well, what happened if I didn't have no witness? What happened if I didn't have nobody to back me up? What happened if I had nobody who was on team D? What happened? But it's sad that this is what it is. You have to understand a lot of time. You can see from both perspectives. You can see it from the perspective from the teacher, and you can also see it from the perspective of the student. But I mean, it's one thing when you're lying on me. It's a whole other thing when it's the truth. Okay, fine. If it's true, it's true. But come on, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big thing right there. But like to go back to that whole point about the lack of people in school. Listen, if you want more males in education, more black males in education, why don't you groom them? Why don't you start by saying, I'm not gonna encourage all these kids to play basketball and football. How about coach? You know me, I get on them coaches all the time. How about coach? You tell them it's more to life than just football. We need scientists. We need lawyers. We definitely need advocates in education. But we certainly need male teachers. Now, I got to truly say, I am blessed from the top of my head to the crown of my feet. Or what is it? The crown of my head to the sole of my feet. I'm blessed to know that I grew up in a place where all my teachers were black. All of them. I think I had one white teacher, and that teacher was an art teacher. An art teacher. And I remember because they came from the States. I don't know what they did. They just looked like a hippie. They really did look like a hippie. It was just like, yeah, dude, we're going to paint these colors, man. We're going to do, dude. I was like, yeah, this dude's cool. I think we're just high all the time.
I know you
but
did.
anyway,
I know you did because you got a touch of hippie in you all day.
yes,
So now we know where you got it from. You picked up that trait from your art teacher.
But I'm telling you, that's what it was. But it's just like I was blessed. So truly, why I'm a strong black woman today is because I was surrounded by strong black teachers. Every grade level. There was not even from kindergarten all the way to high school. So but guess what? That's what shaped me. How many kids today can truly say I've had at least 5 or 6 or 7 black male teachers? I'll never forget the torture that coach had me go through trying to run that track. I'm like, man, you killing us out here. You killing us. But that's what we have. So I want you to think back. You think back. How many black male teachers did you have? Really? In fact, let me go to the audience. Hold on. Anybody? Gretchen said legs.
I'm sitting here thinking, I don't believe I had not one black male teacher from my kindergarten through 12th grade in Hillsborough County Public Schools. Not one. I didn't.
See
Not
that?
one. Not one.
And I truly believe that's why my perspective is truly different. I mean, when
That's
I talk to people,
crazy.
it is. When I talk to people now, it make a lot of sense why my perspective is so different. Because it's like I grew up with a lot of that strength. Imagine I had a journalism teacher that was a male. You know what I'm saying? I had about my, of course, coaches, math teacher, science teacher, all males. History teacher,
Oh, I'm
male.
lying. Yes, I did. Hillsborough High School. My accounting teacher, Mr. I want to say his name was Floyd. Mr. Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was. I had an accountant, black male math teacher, not math, accounting teacher at Hillsborough High School. Yes, I did. One.
Wow.
One. My
Mm-hmm.
11th grade year. Yes, I sure did.
See
Mm-hmm.
that? Yeah.
One.
That those, but that's something, and those make a difference. That's what it is. It's like they make such a great difference. Imagine if you took some kids from here and dropped them off
Wow, that's
someplace in the Caribbean for
crazy.
a year. For a year, just drop them in the Caribbean for a year. Just let them to experience having all black teachers. Wouldn't that be something else? Just drop them off. Just see, just as a test experiment.
I I just know that it plays a role, a very important role that is often viewed as not important. And the reason why it's not viewed as important is because the other race, they don't, they've not experienced it enough to
Mm-hmm.
understand that those variations of values and morals and experiences that their children are able to relate to their teacher that our children aren't able to do on a day-to-day basis. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had to be very intentional about trying to recall on where a black male teacher fit into my education career as a child. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Pansy said she
Mm.
had one. She had one. Pansy, I'm real curious.
Wow.
Was it in elementary, middle, or high school? Can you let us know what who what or what who was the person? Which was it? Elementary, middle, or high school? Um, hey Gretchen, how you doing? And then we missed
Diana,
a comment from Diana. She said a comment earlier. Hold on, let me see.
she says, why can't the schools put behavioral supports in place in the child's very early elementary years? Well, Diana, um, on paper, they do. They do have support
Good
staff,
question.
and it used to be behavior specialist as the title, but now that's no longer. And that's what they're designed to do. However, you only have one for a whole school. Now, so I don't know what you're doing, Samuel, but you better go take a seat.
Oh, 3 seats, Sam.
Sorry about that. I don't
All right.
um I don't know the level of impact that can be made at a school that has a high percentage of students that's coming from challenging social economic backgrounds and
Mhm.
coming with a plethora of baggage as it relates to home life, community life. Like when you have a school that has more issues than solutions in the one resource, it's as if the resource may as well not be there because they only
Right.
reach such a small population of the kids. But I definitely get what you're saying. Pansy said elementary. Elementary is where they
Oh
had
wow.
that one black male
Wow.
teacher. So that's very interesting. But I just know that we got to do a better job with being intentional about, because there's no way to tell me that more didn't apply and the ones that were in education and they chose to go to other districts. The question has to become were you able to
Mhm.
go to our sister districts and obtain leadership positions, or go to and be leaders over charter schools or whatever. And we all got, no, there's not one person that's perfect. We're all imperfect in this imperfect world, but there has to be reason as to why we have so few in our district. Because just because it's
Mhm.
2% in the nation, we still should have a higher representation based on our demographics here in the district. And especially with so
Correct.
many schools have 80% or higher free and reduced lunch based upon their family's social economic status. So we have to be very intentional about those things. And I just don't know if we are.
Mhm. I'm gonna throw out a random crazy thought. So what if because people let me start by saying this. Now teachers have to take a lot of professional development classes, right? So there's a lot of experts who or know their subject area. They usually at the end of every class we have to take a survey, and we wrap up and we explain how we like the class or whatever like that. But why don't we then take some of those people out of the teaching arena of teaching adults and put them into the support system of the schools if obviously they can't, I wouldn't say every single day, but they can be on a rotational basis, so that you have more people, more adults who are able to be contact. Like all these classes they want us to take. Like for example, do you know the district just put up a class about teaching about racism and equity in the classroom? I've been going through all the courses in PDF that I'm trying to take over the summer, these virtual classes, and I'm like, wow, you offering that class and that class? I mean, there's a bunch of classes they offering right now. The social emotional learning, all this they offering. But I'm like, everybody who's teaching those classes, obviously you're an expert in that field, right? Why don't you then come, or an expert, at least an expert in that subject area, okay?
The content, yes, because
the content.
I'm just still trying to figure out, and this is just me. I always try to figure out, how can someone outside of just knowing the content and developing their historical knowledge about something, book knowledge about it, truly share or explain with, like, if you took their background knowledge away completely, I'm gonna say, well, if you took away any of their book knowledge, how can they equitably explain to you about poverty if they've never experienced poverty? How can they explain to you about racism if they've never experienced being a person that racism impacts? I don't get that. Like, and when I took that class, Teaching with Poverty in Mind, I wanted to run around the room, take
and scream,
skip, hop, and jump. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right. And then, it's funny because, go ahead. No, because it's funny because the first time, it's so funny because with Title I schools and the amount of classes you have to take, it's kind of repetitive. So I took a bunch of Title I classes because I was at Greco, and then turned around and take a bunch of Title I classes because I was that young. And what's so really funny about it is that it's like in the same class of champs and stuff like that. I took Teaching with Poverty in Mind, was taught by a Black woman, but Teaching with Poverty in Mind was also taught by a white woman. And it's so funny to me, but both of them still also were in a social economic group. And even when they talked about their backgrounds and everything, they were just like, y'all ain't never experienced nothing. You ain't had no mayonnaise sandwich. You ain't had no sugar sandwich. You ain't eat government cheese. How are you telling me that I'm eating MREs? Because remember, when we have hurricanes and we had a power for months, we have to eat the military stuff. Okay, so you telling me you ain't never had none of that, but you telling me about stuff. So that's why I'm saying, take those people, take them out of teaching us. Forget that. We could scrap all that for a year, just like they scrap all of the paying for the classes and stuff like that. Scrap all that. Throw them back in the classroom, so that the next time you stand in front of another adult, you actually have true experience of how it feels to about all the stuff that you're telling us about. And you'll actually be a support system for the school. But I know it's a radical idea. I know that's asking a little bit much. That's somebody up their cushy office and their cushy space and the air conditioning and dragging around their $5,000 worth of equipment and making little packets and whatnot to give to teachers. That, because I got so much packets in the room. I swear I got packets going way back to the 2000s. So listen, that I'm just saying, since, especially now, since we are heading into this virtual platform, and we're not going to meet anyway. I mean, if this coronavirus coming for a round 2, we might not be meeting for a while. So pull them out and have them do classes. Have them do the stuff that they're talking about with the kids. I just throwing it out there like that. Y'all go ahead and spread that, because I know y'all have a tendency to go on there and just get opinionated. Just tell somebody.
Let's color. Look, Pansy said, let's color outside the lines. Most definitely. At some and to know that coloring outside the lines is okay. It's okay. You'll learn a lot more. Look, coloring outside the lines requires truly some critical thinking in most cases.
And the way we are right now, if we have to think that way, because I don't know about you, I've been checking my emails, I've been looking, going through all these stuff. No one yet, as of yet, has a solid plan for us returning back to school. All I've seen is the calendar. I saw two calendars. I saw the pay calendar and I saw the return to school calendar with the holidays and all the dates stuff. That's it. No one has had a plan for lunches, meals, busing. There is no plan for the classroom. There are ideas out there which says that maybe rotational model, maybe a model where half of them are truly online, the other half are in school. A model that says, well, maybe we'll do it in shifts. A model that says, no, here's the one model I heard about was all the teachers who are older, those are the ones that will get that pass. They'll end up staying home and doing virtual classes. So they're going to sacrifice the rest of us that's under 50 still.
But this my question. A lot of, the individuals that are well-seasoned teachers, they not with all this technology stuff. Don't be bothered with that. So I will say is this. I will not be the sacrificial lamb for
Hillsborough
County Public Schools. I'm
not going to be the lamb
and I
that
just
was
find
slain.
it so insensitive. Yes, we may be essential workers, but the key thing is there's certain things I just didn't sign up for. I didn't sign up for that. No.
Right. No one signed up for pandemic teaching. No,
Look, one. That's Alicia Keys' song. What's this? No one.
No one.
Look, we ain't signed up for this. No.
I'm still trying to figure out when y'all go. Hey, listen, how y'all figured out cleaning the school? I love posing questions that I don't get answers to. That's the part that's real funny to me because I keep on throwing them questions out and ain't nobody trying to answer me.
Them posing questions that you get answers to because no one has yet to answer about the whole fifth grade student body having been excluded from the opportunity. But I bet if it impacted their children, they would all want to know.
Yeah. Correct. And you're right. Because I'm curious. Like, so we gonna cater to everybody from 1 through 4. We're gonna cater to the 6 through 12.
No, correct that. Kindergarten through 4.
I'm sorry. Kindergarten through 4, 6 through 12. So what? The 5th graders don't exist. So you know what it is? It remind me of people who were born on February 29th. So I guess you only exist every 4 years. Legs. I need some legs.
Run across the room. There we go.
So if you're a 5th grader, if you're a 5th grader right now, you just don't even exist. You might well just say, "Hey, I wasn't born."
Look, you're gonna have you're gonna have 5 months. Right at 5 months, you will be out of school.
Right.
Technically, some of them is
no
factual
support
because they
support.
They have not done the packets. That they have not done a thing. They would have been out of school right at 5 months at that point.
Correct.
5 months.
And I wonder if you got a 5th grader, what are you doing for your 5th grader? That's a question. What you doing for your 5th grader?
Now I will add that there are summer opportunities that are being shared. I am a part of a summer opportunity, and that's through Sea Lifestyles Exchange. I always mess that up. And with that being said, stay tuned because one thing about it, the space is limited. There's only so much that one program could do. There's only so much that any of all the programs could do because I see now that the city of Tampa has opened up that they're offering summer camps, but it's through a lottery because they're only taking so many. So now that we've opened back up,
right,
for us to go to work, would y'all start locking up parents because the children left at home by themselves because they don't have a camp to go to? Or do the parent have to decide, like the one lady said, that her husband said he couldn't deal with the child, so therefore she had to quit, close down her business and let her employees go? What we doing? Because most are coming from two-parent homes in the social economic challenge communities. No.
Correct.
What you want them to do?
That right there.
And if they have 5th graders.
What's that mean? They go like this? Right. But
Help
yet,
us.
we have elected officials who just, y'all ain't know these problems exist. I'm gonna blink on it. What we gonna
Or
do?
your community isn't being impacted, and if your colleague is not bringing that conversation to the forefront, then
Right.
it must not matter. Legs.
I need legs on that. Yeah, run it.
That's how they tip out the room too. They just tip out.
Right. They tip out the room like that because they close off meetings like in District 3.
I am so disappointed on that. I had to stop looking at that. I'm just
I
so
couldn't even watch it
disappointed
no more.
in.
I was like, this is a train wreck. What the?
I just stopped. I just
Look,
stopped.
listen to me carefully.
But what we do know, what we do know that we're bringing back to the forefront, or bringing that those things that we think about momentarily, like pipeline to prison. We're bringing that back to the forefront of the conversation, that we have an obligation to dig deep into finding out what is going to be solutions in efforts to hold us collectively accountable for changing the narrative for our Black and brown children as it relates to the preparation of prisons based upon a standardized test that dictates the number of private prisons that are being built for our future youth. We have to start beginning to have those discussions to change the narrative amongst the classrooms, in the classrooms where the cultural relevance is not there. So therefore, the discipline is indifferent based upon the child's race because of the lack of familiarity with that child's culture. So those are conversations that we're no longer going to ignore. Those are conversations that we're no longer going to give anyone passes with. Consider me the disgruntled progressing teacher that I have been deemed on paper as, or conversated about. And just take it for what you want. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to be quiet about it. Shame on you all that continue to do so. If you're not having the discussions that proactively are trying to be in the direction to change the narrative, shut the hell up. Just shut up.
Correct. Shut up.
If you're not helping, shut up. Don't add to the conversation if you haven't been talking about it before now. We don't want to talk about it, after the fact. Come to the table, bring forth your talents and treasures to where you're going to help build the conversation in order for us to change the narrative for our children. Period. Ooh.
That's correct. Period.
Or shut up.
Stop sign, all that. Because listen, I'm waiting for everybody who got something to say. Pop into a classroom every once in a while. Don't just pop in for the beginning, for the clap in. But you know what's going to be the excuse this year? Well, it's a pandemic, so we can't even come by and visit nobody clap. Well, there's no photo ops. That's right.
But we need your voices to help raise or lift up the conversations, because I will say it again, and I mean what I say. If you are an advocacy group and your advocacy is tailored around the word child, children, youth, students, whatever you want to engage in someone under the age of 18 or not school age for elementary and secondary, if you're not raising the questions, knowingly that there are population of children, students, youth that are not equitably being educated, and you know this based on the data, the results, are you selectively advocating for specific children? Or is it for all children?
Or could it be that, just like with Ybor City and Central Park and West Tampa, could it be that, hey, listen, we in this for the money. We ain't care about the community. I mean, hey, East Tampa look like it's next. I mean, we done got the 40th Street renovation. Why did we need roundabouts on 40th Street? Why?
That was crazy.
Because
That
really
was
what we
crazy from the
really
beginning.
needed was an influx of money to help build up the schools in the East Tampa area. But I mean, but we over here building roundabouts and stuff.
Or a boys and girls club, or a park that can acquire more than 750 feet for its renovations, or safe. I mean, we could go on and on, because if you sit and think about it, in the East Tampa area, outside of the one in Nucio, which is private, like you can't.
Right.
Lucio Park used to be the park to be able to go to, that communities in the East Tampa area could come and, freaking for football games and, family gatherings. Now that thing is padlocked shut.
Mm-hmm. And you wonder
But
why
what
the
we
kids
do
are
have
frustrated.
in that area is a graveyard, massive graveyards, a
Yeah.
corner store where they aren't owned by our African American mom and pops anymore. What we do have, a pawn shop damn near on every corner. What we do,
Right.
and they get the block grants, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
block grants that they get to open up the meat stove and the king and queen, what you call it,
What, the
laundromat.
laundromat?
We're not
They
talking
got a
about any of
laundromat,
that. But
gas
what we
station.
can continue to say is this: enough, no more. Enough,
Mm-hmm.
no more. And for those that chime in when it's going to impact them monetarily or impact what they feel the direction it should be going in, we can't do it based on an individual. You got to look at the people that live in those communities. The people that's having the most conversation don't even live in them.
Wow. So is that apathy? Is that what that is? That's what it sounds like? Or just complacency? Or I've just been beat down so much till I'm just frustrated. I'm just not gonna say nothing. But you see why the kids are frustrated? Why the kids out there doing all kind of crazy stuff? They don't have an outlet. They don't have any place.
Nowhere to
I'm
go.
always happy. I'm happy when I see the kids riding bikes up and down the street. Because at least that's an outlet for them. But they can have more. They can have so much more. But like it's just like you said, it ain't their children. It ain't affecting nobody else. People who are in leadership is not affecting their children. But don't you realize that the children that it's affecting are the future? I think some people think that they're going to live forever. And let me tell you something. Coronavirus is teaching us that nobody's going to live forever. If you didn't know before. If you didn't know before.
It's not funny, but you're right. Death has become at the more relevant. But it's going to happen. We all are. That's
going
one
to die.
fact. We're going to die.
And now you focus on the future. The whole concept is building up the future so that when we pass the future, they have a future. They have something to look forward to. When the child tell you they don't have no hope, when a child tell you that, that's a horrible thing to hear a child tell you, it ain't gonna matter. This ain't gonna matter. That ain't gonna matter. So, but anyway, we ain't trying to beat up a no dead horse. We just came on here to try to give y'all a little clarity, little hey, little how do, happy Sunday and whatnot. Please, we are gonna throw this out there though. Tomorrow's Memorial Day weekend. Just stay at your house and grill. Don't try to be all out in the streets with everybody else, okay? Because we see all kind of crazy.
The hotels sold out. Stop. The hotels are sold out. Stop.
Thank you. Who trying to go look? And then on top of that, listen. They still are here shooting and carrying on. Please, just stay home. Why did I wake up Sunday morning to news of 3 people getting shot? Why did I have to wake up to that news? And of course, let me just throw this out there. Of course, if it involves Black people, it probably ain't gonna hit the local news. Why we all got Facebook news? I'm just gonna leave that alone.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything at all.
There's stuff that don't hit the news. It just be like. But anyway, please, y'all, just can we plead for just life? We in a pandemic. We don't need to be out there shooting and carrying on, okay? And that's all I really got. I ain't got nothing else because I'm still trying to live. That's all.
Yes, Gretchen. She said Facebook news. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like when you wake up, do you really want to see what's on the other side of the Facebook news?
Right.
I don't know. Well, one thing about it, we got 4 more days, not 4.
Faux.
Faux. Like Ice Cube said, faux.
Faux. Correct.
And then
And
we
that's it.
out this piece for the
Correct.
2019 to the 2020.
All
And
right,
it's been
people.
an adventurous year. One thing about it is we can never say, I hope not to be able to ever say in my lifetime that I experienced a pandemic to where it the country, well, the nation stopped. Maybe not all at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, but we did stop. This is April Cobb with April's Beauty Bar,
It's the Diva D from Carved Out Divas. And we're hosted by the
and we are
fantastic,
diverse.
phenomenal, oops, I'm sorry, teacher for the
I was
culture, Miss
go ahead.
Bianca Goofy. And we're just so
Yes,
happy to
and
be here.
yes, and you all be sure to go back for those that are here listening and need to know what's going on in the current in Hillsborough County Public Schools culture, because that's what it is. It's our culture for our district, and the things that sometimes get overlooked or intentionally swept away because it's controversial in topic, or it's not the easy conversation to have, but it's definitely conversations that must be had in order for us to move forward in a healthy manner. Because if we constantly ignore things that are deemed controversial,
Right.
we don't get anywhere, because there's going to be a population of people that are left behind hurt. And I think we forget that. I think we really forget that.
Yeah.
So go back and check out her Teacher for the Culture page, and pay attention to what the conversations that are being had, because no one wakes up and just say, today I'm going to destroy an individual to the capacity of, and this is my opinion, to the capacity of, I'm going to go find their pictures. Like it just doesn't make sense. And I do know that if it was a person of color, I don't care what nobody say, that it would not have went the same way. It would not have. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. And we see it every day in the news where a person is walked away in handcuffs and they may have committed the same crime as a person that was murdered in the streets for something less of. We just can't allowing lives to be devalued, and that's people of color's lives, and that's just the reality. It's not
Yeah.
made up; it's facts. We see it, but again, nobody wants to talk about it. And then what happens? You allow a population of people to walk away hurt. So that's all we got, guys.
That's it. Have a lovely evening. Spirit fingers.